Torah Parshas Chayei, page Tezayin, first column, third paragraph. Okay. Now, the Rabbi asked the question, how can we say Yosef Shachar b'tshuva ma'asim tovim b'olam hazeh, that olam hazeh Torah mitzvahs is better than the whole olam haba? If l'chayda, the whole purpose of Torah mitzvahs is to have the garments of the soul in Gan Eden. So the Rabbi is explaining that the inyan of Ziva Shechina is, it's only a ray of the Shechina, and the other hand, the essence is all over, but it's not revealed. So in this world it says, like Targum says, Malech ha'la'aretz kveidei means the Ziv, but another pasuk says, Shmei ha'aretz ani malei, which is the humility of Hashem. You see the humility of Hashem, that it's not like people think that Brias Ha'olam is the greatness of Hashem. On the contrary, it's the descending of Hashem from an infinite, into a finite level. So now he says, he says the goal is to understand and feel the essence of Hashem. So it'll be by Metchef Mason. But he says, the neshama in a body is yesh v'dav b'fnei atzmei. How is that possible? To understand the essence of a lukus, which is not had in the level of a soga gvul. In other words, it's a very simple question. A neshama in a body is limited. How is it possible for a limited neshama to understand the essential level of a lukus? And he says, even though the neshama is a part of Hashem. But he says, here the Alter Rebbe says something medically very interesting. He says like this seed that a father creates originates in the head, because you need maturity to be able to, you need maturity to create seed. And he says, you can't say, when this tipa was still in the brain, was the physical seed. Why? Then the brain would get smaller. If the seed in the brain would be a physical seed, so then it leaves the brain would get smaller. He says, he says like this, but reality is, when it leaves the brain, it's only spiritual. When it comes down from the spine to where it needs to go, that's where it becomes gashmis. Not in the brain, on the way down from the brain to the area through the spine. Granted, the neshama is chelak alakami mal mamish. That's the way the neshama in its origin. But the bottom line is, the neshama is in a body, it's a limited thing. In fact, there's two explanations the Chassidus gives when the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, never Perek Beis, whenever Sheni Biso Chelak Alakami Mal Mamish. So the pasuk in Eve says Chelak Alakami Mal, but what's Mamish? Says two interpretations. One is Mamish, it's actually a part of Hashem, or Mamish means it becomes Mamoshes, it becomes tangible. We're saying the whole inyan is Hasagas Muhus V'atzmas Sachayis. How is it possible that neshama in a body should be able to get that level of a lukus? So he says, the inyan is like this. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up after Matan Torah, he went up to Har Sinai. So the pasuk says in Mishpatim, he went up Teicha Anan, Vayisham Arboim Yom V'Arboim Laila. He was there 40 days, 40 nights. Lechem Le'achal, he didn't eat bread. Umayim Le'shas, he didn't drink, all that. So he says, what did he live from? You can't go 40 days without eating. So it says, Then he only ate ruchniistic food. K'meshakos of lechem abirim achal ish. Mamish k'mei malachim. It says in the pasuk in Tehillim, lechem abirim achal ish. Yeah? Who's ish? Ish is Moshe Rabbeinu. Ish Olikim. Or ish Moshe. Lechem abirim means the strong ones. It refers to malachim. That's the simple taich in Tehillim. Lechem abirim achal ish. What did Moshe Rabbeinu ish? What did he eat in up there in Shemayim? By 40 days and 40 nights. He ate the food that malachim eat. Now what do malachim eat? Malachim eat ruchniistic food. Because malachim also have a guf. But not a guf from 4 elements, a guf from 2 elements. They don't have mayim and ofar, because that's the tangible parts. The malach, as Alter Rebbe says in Sultania, that the guf of a malach comes from eish and ruach. So it's a more spiritual body, and they eat spiritual food. But the question is, okay, he ate that ruchniistic food, but he's still a gashmistic body. How can a gashmistic body eat spiritual food? You're not going to get hungry from looking at food. So the question, how is it possible that Moshe Rabbeinu can get his physical body should get sustained from spiritual food? That's the inyan That's the inyan of the anon. Anon shayameshim miskasabi. The pasuk said beteicha anon. And then it says mayim lechem le'yachal. What does it mean? Hainu shayo ha'anon shashimi madrega salukus ma'id naila. Moshe Rabbeinu came into the anon, meaning the anon represents makif. The Nanak Teres represents the lowest, the highest of levels. So he went into the anon shashimi madrega salukus ma'id naila. So Moshe Rabbeinu really came from a very lofty spiritual source. Min hamayim mishisiyu. Right? He came from Alma Diskasya, from the hidden world of Elokus. He came from all the way up there. Achin nishtau shovanis gashim lias levush l'meish olav shalom. Shayod yochel lahasig Elokus. So because it came down, that ruchni is the level of honor, came down to Moshe Rabbeinu, and it became his food. Like a person who looks at a very powerful light through a curtain. So in other words, like this, Moshe Rabbeinu, because he came from this high level, that high level came down to be able to feed Moshe Rabbeinu.
Is that compared to Lechem Shemayim, say by the man?
No, Lechem min hashemayim, the man was physical. The source of the man was very lofty. That's why you had to do above it and below it, because Tal is super high. K'mei keinat Torah mitzvahs, maisis, shor shemiratzin el yimei chachmasi yizbar, to come from lofty levels of Elokus, shem yuchad, and by yizbar chuchakim, shem l'mayla miziv hashchina, which is infinitely greater than the ray of the Shekhinah. The ray of the Shekhinah is only a ray of the Shekhinah. Shurak is it comes into the slow physical world. Mitzvahs originate in a very lofty spiritual level. Right? Torah is chachmas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Torah is Hashem's chachma. Mitzvahs are the will of Hashem. Will is even higher than chachma. The will is makif level. The will dictates the seichel. Okay, so mitzvahs come from a so super high lofty level, but now they come down all the way down into the physical mitzvah, tefillin, tzitzis, whatever it is. But that level is from the super high levels. Therefore, when a person occupies himself with Torah mitzvahs, these things which come from a super high level, become the garments for the Slavish Ben Began Eden Elyon, Shayodei Tucha Neshama, which is Nivra Lahasig Ziv Ashchina Atmas Ulkus. So he says like this: how is it possible, Taka, for Neshama, which is a Nivra, to understand Elokus? He says because the Neshama is doing Torah mitzvahs, and these Torah mitzvahs comes from a super high place, but they come down into the physical world. But the source of it is super high. So therefore, when the Neshama does Torah mitzvahs, the Neshama gets cloaked. The levush of the Neshama comes from the super high place. Therefore, the Neshama in a body is able to understand the essence of Elokus. More than Gan Eden, which is only a ray of the Shekhinah.
Why does it say levush?
What is the garment that allows the Neshama to perceive Elokus?
Why doesn't it say internal? Why is it outside?
Because Torah mitzvahs are the will of Hashem, which is not an internal level like Seichel. Seichel you internalize. Ratzin, your willpower, is an encompassing level. Which part of the body is Ratzin? There's no part of the body. Seichel is in the head. Midas are in the heart. Ratzin is a power higher, therefore dictates Seichel and Midas. So it's a makif level. So that garments, that's why, as Al Rebbe explains in the Torah, that's why clothing costs more than food. And housing costs more than garments. So he says, why food is more important? He says, okay, simply because it lasts longer. Okay, but why is it like that? So he says, food is mamala kolam. Garments are seviv kolam. And bias is less machshava tvisa beklal. Makif of makif. Yeah? So therefore it's a higher level. So garments are a higher level than food, so it costs more. Housing is a higher level than garments, so it costs more. First of all, there's a mitzvah of having emunah. Emunah is a mitzvah. Even though it's debatable, there's a machlekes in halacha, not in halacha, in the Rishonim that count mitzvahs. Tzemach Tzedek brings it down, takin, derech mitzvah amanas alukus. The Maimah v'necha Hashem l'kecha, Tzemach Tzedek brings down two opinions, because the definition of a mitzvah means, when you say the word mitzvah, that means there's a premise, there's a commander, and the commander is commanding you to believe in, to do a mitzvah. But in order to have a mitzvah, you must have a mitzvah. You have to have a commander. So therefore many ha-mitzvahs, the ones that count the mitzvahs, say you can't have a mitzvah to believe there's a mitzvah. You can't have a mitzvah to believe there's a commander, because the word mitzvah already assumes there's a commander. So you can't have a mitzvah to believe you can't have a commander telling you to believe there's a commander. Because if there's a mitzvah, then you have a commander. Right? So many of the Rishonim don't count the Necha v'Elakecha as a mitzvah. But Tzemach Tzedek explains, no, it is a mitzvah. But the mitzvah is not that there is a commander, but that this commander is, super high. Okay, now we need to understand second column. So now we have to understand the level of Ab. What?
Is there a mitzvah lota say for not having the Hashem?
Not having what? Lo yelocha lakim achayim. That's the anechin lo yelocha. Anechi, as Al Rebbe says in Tanya, Anechi is the source of all positive mitzvahs. Lo yelocha is the source of all negative commandments. That's why those two we have to hear directly from Hashem. From we hear it directly from Hashem. The rest, the other 611, you tell us. That's why he says Torah. That's how we know there's 613 mitzvahs. How do you know 600? Where does it say there's 613 mitzvahs? Maybe it's 10, 100, 200. So the Gemara at the end of the Makkah says Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moshe says there's 613 mitzvahs. How do we know it? T'chsev Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah equals 611. Tav vav reishei. And 2 we heard from Hashem. So together we know there's 613 mitzvahs. What they are is a big machlekes. Rambam, Chinuch, I mean, whatever, all the Rishonim that they count the mitzvahs. The Sefer mitzvahs we do every day, that's the Rambam. According to, not everybody agrees with those, that those are mitzvahs.
In order to enter the Gan Eden, you have to have a cloth.
In order to go to Gan Eden, you need garments to be able to handle the ray of the, even the ray of the Shekhinah, you need garments. Here the Alter Rebbe is saying more than that. The garments allow you in this world to get the mahus of the essence of Elokus. Yeah, because you need food and clothing. Neshama Gan Eden needs food and clothing. So the food is the Torah learned in this world. The garments, now, in order to perceive a very powerful ray, you can't take it as it. You need garments, you need curtains, you need whatever, you know.
It's the same garment that Adam had.
No.
It was a different garment.
Yeah. First of all, that was after the Chayei Tzedakah, Hashem made him a physical garment.
I thought he had a garment that he was.
No, before the Chayei Tzedakah says it, Alter Rebbe alludes to it in Tanya. In Kabbalah it says his whole body was covered with nails, fingernails. And then by Chayei Tzedakah it fell off except on the fingernails. That's why fingernails are tumah. Okay, anyways, he says like this. But L'cher he says, Shem Ragat from the Valagbi Iker Adav which Torah Meisen Tevin. See, now he says we have to understand Ava and Yira, yeah, he's saying are the wings. That's what it says. The positive mitzvahs are the right wing, the negative mitzvahs are the left wing, right? And your bird needs 2 wings. So therefore, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Al Pidin need to lagapav, there's a din in Yeridea, that if the wings of an animal are clipped, they're off, the animal is still a kosher bird. You can shecht it, it's not treifa. Because the wings are not a vital part of the animal's life. The bird can live without wings. What's the purpose of the wings? To make it fly high. Can't fly without wings. But the Eibishter made it needs 2 wings.
So why put shkita and check the wings?
No, in the connection to the wings to the body, not the wings themselves. So what it is you need 2 wings. You need a right wing, or you can't fly with 1 wing. You're going to go around the circles. You need 2 wings. That's Ava and Yira. But he says, Valhav Musa Ava Mahi. To understand what does it mean, Ava? What do you mean loving Hashem? He says, in Krishma, Tzar Shem Yamlechu, Lamailo, Lamato, Dal Ruchas Elam. Krishma, it says, what does the word Echad mean? Aleph Ches Dalit. It says in the Gemara, and Shulchan Aruch says you have to think this when you say the word Aleph. I mean, Al Echad, or else you're not yet to the mitzvah Krishma. You have to think, Ches is 8, 7 heavens and earth, it means up and down. Dalit is the 4 corners of the world. So you have north, east, south, west. And then you have, they're all bottled to the Aleph. So like it says in the Gemara, Yamlechu Lamailo Lamato, you have to make Hashem king up and down, and 4 corners of the world. Pirish, what does this mean? The Pasuk says Malay that he quoted before. The ray of the Shekhinah of his glory, Shurakizdiv is Pashtus audible vad. It's only a ray, Hamistabesh Techalman. Malay Chalaretz Kveidei, what comes into the world? Only a ray of Hashem. Ziv Yikari. Yet, Ani is the essence of Hashem. So again, he asked the contradiction before, but he's mentioning it again now. One pasuk says the ray of Hashem is in the world. Another pasuk says the essence of Hashem is in the world. Which one is it? שאינן נתפס ונתפס בדרך מידה וגבול. והעניין ששניהם אמץ. Both are true. There's a ray of the Shekhinah in the world, and there's the essence of Hashem in the world. What does it mean? K'mashal bitul ziv Hashemish b'makar Hashemish atzma. Like the bit will understand it by the bit of the ray of the sun in the sun itself. Ki'yadua shebe'emes atzmus elukus molech ha'aretz. Okay, meaning, okay, it says like this. Right? You have the ray of the sun, you have the sun, and then you have the ray of the sun. He says it's simple logic that if the ray of the sun can shine millions and millions of miles away from the sun, it definitely exists within the sun. Okay? But in the sun, it's only the sun. It's not an existence of anything but the sun. You don't say up there, oh, there's rays of the sun in the sun. You look at the sun, there's only the sun. When do the rays become something? When they leave the sun. Because then the source is not there. The source is not there, then the side thing becomes something. That's why sometimes in Chassidus it says the expression, it's not real, but the ray of the sun leaving the sun is like yesh mi'ayin. Because now it becomes a ray. It's still bottle, but it's relatively speaking, now it becomes a ray when before it wasn't even a ray. Okay. So it's the same thing, you have Elokus. The essence of Elokus is all over. But you have the ray of the Elokus, which is completely bottled. Let's see it inside. It's all over the place. But this, that there is a ray of the Shekhinah, that Elokus comes into the mitzvah, into 10 spheres, into whatever it is bottled v'nichlo b'mehusiv atzmus Elokus. Is bottled to Elokus. Meaning like this. There's the sun, and there's the ray of the sun. Okay? Reality is, the ray of the sun is bottled to the sun.
How can you separate the rays from the sun? The rays are coming from the sun.
Yeah, but you down here you don't have the sun. You have the sun down here. No.
The rays are coming from the sun.
Right, but it's bottled to the sun. But it's not the sun. It's only a shining of the sun. If the sun would be down here, the world would burn up.
I don't want to confuse the issue, but this ray is from the sun 8 minutes ago. It's not the same sun.
No. It is the same ray.
It's the same ray.
It takes time to get here. It travels at the speed of light. So, I mean, what's the...
It's not the same sun anymore. It's the sun 8 minutes ago.
The sun is still the sun. No, now you're hacking a Chinese. The sun is the sun. It just takes time to get here.
I said I don't want to confuse you.
Okay. Huh? So he says like this, a person needs to understand there is a ray of the Shekhinah and there is the essence of Hashem. They're really both one thing. Because Hashem's essence is all over. So if Hashem's essence is all over, how is there a ray of the sun? How is there a ray if in this essence there is no ray? So we learn to Shayei v'Amunah. That's the concept of Tzimtzum. Hashem makes it look as if there's a ray, even though reality is it's only Him. It makes it look, from our perspective, that there should be a ray. So he says, if a person meditates during Sukkot Zimra and the Birchas Krishma, that the worlds are really bottled, because the existence of the world is created with a ray of Hashem, Dibur, Vayem Elikim. What speech? It's a ray, it's a revelation, right? So if a person realizes, yeah, there's a world that Hashem created, but if the essence of Hashem is all over the place, this world is really not a world. It's only Hashem. because we are in a physical body, which is called Mishcha Dechivya, the serpent's skin, Mimizgal, Misraba, Megashma, it gets bigger and bigger and corrupter and corrupter and grubber and thicker. With God Master Mamalim Shiyuchal is Be'enei Re'iyah Chushis, that we can't see godliness with physical eyes, but you realize that what we see is not real. The reality is that Eined Muvade. Hashem's all over. Therefore, the ray of Hashem is in Hashem himself. So reality, it's only Hashem.
So whether it's the ray or the essence is a matter of perspective.
Correct. This, that it's only a ray, is from our perspective.
But without a perspective, you don't leave.
Correct. That's why that perspective comes from Elokus. That means, from Bereshit bara Elokim, from Elokim's perspective, there's a world. From Havaya's perspective, there is no world. And even higher than Havaya, for sure there's no world. Even from the perspective of Havaya, Havaya means creator. So if you say there's a creator, there has to be a connection to creation.
So in order for Elohim to exist, he has to be separated from...
Correct.
So Elohim is not really the essence.
Yeah, but we say Hashem Hu Elokim.
I realize, but it cannot be, otherwise Elohim cannot
By the way, just for the record, Havaya is also not the essence, it's a name. A name is not the essence. Anoichi is the essence.
But that's how we are identifying with it.
Correct. We can't identify any other way.
So the Tzaddikim have the human perspective and the higher perspective.
So you cannot say, I believe in Elohim.
You could believe in Elokim because Hashem Hu Elokim.
But you cannot.
The concealment is Him.
Elohim is separated from it.
It's not. That's what we're saying. Hashem Hu Elokim. It's only from our perspective is there a difference with Hashem and Elokim.
If this separation from this HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't happen, the world cannot exist. There cannot be a physicality.
There is no world.
That's correct. The only reason that
There is a world is because Elokim allows it to be a world. But that level of Elokim is Hashem concealing himself with himself.
Yeah, because it departed from itself.
You can't hide yourself with yourself. Right? That we learned already. It's logic. I can't go like this and say you can't see me. You don't see me. Because this is also me. Right? You can't say you can't see me. I can say you don't see my eyes because my hands are not my eyes. So you can see the hands can block the eyes. But me, the hands are just me as anything else. Even in Allah, if you need a yarmulke, a kippah, you can't put your hand over your head. Because you can't cover yourself with yourself. You can't cover yourself with yourself. So it's only Hashem covering himself with himself in a way that we are able to think there's a world.
Yes,